And look, the rabid, out-of-control, deranged left is proven wrong again. So that new video from the agent's body cam puts the shooting, we're going to watch it again, of Renee Good in a new light.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Whoa!
We now know that Ms. Good and her partner were so-called ICE trackers. They're people who spend their free time following, monitoring, and impeding ICE agents as they do their lawful work, their jobs. Now, they do this because they believe their state shouldn't be subject to federal immigration law, the ICE trackers, that is. And they don't want any jurisdiction of the federal government here in Minneapolis whatsoever. And if this left-wing resistance plays out everywhere, where people just decide we're not going to abide by federal law, what happens next? Now, from what we see in the new video tonight, after the officers told this woman to stop, she refused. And then, with her partner egging her on, she began to spin her wheels. The officer in front of her car reasonably believed he was in mortal danger. Again, here's a clue. If you don't want to get injured or, heaven forbid, have a tragic ending to your life, comply with law enforcement's requests. But this duo went there with a purpose. They went to grab video for social media to demonize officers and to interfere with their operation. They want to drive ICE out of this city. And the lapdogs of the left, well, they spread hateful narratives, and then their poodle politician friends, they just rush in to confirm them.
We are all shaken and outraged by another terrible, unnecessary, violent event instigated by the reckless agenda of the Trump administration. When a president endorses tearing families apart and attempts to govern through fear and hate rather than shared values, you foster an environment of lawlessness and recklessness.
What we have here are two Americas. One America believes that we have a legitimate federal system, and thus our laws should be enforced by the executive branch. That's the DOJ, FBI, ICE, et cetera, with the president, obviously, the chief law enforcement officer.
The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge.
The other side, the other America, is leftists like Walz and Fry, et cetera. They believe that the U.S. government action, if it takes place, is only legitimate if it advances progressive goals. So if a Republican president, any Republican president really, enforces laws that the left disagrees with, well, the activists will just threaten to burn it all down, like they did after George Floyd.
When the city burned, after George Floyd, all of a sudden there were some charges. So for those who are on the media talking about, don't burn it down, don't set it on fire, let me tell you this, we need justice and we need it now.
Yeah, actually saying that burning the city down will get results. So to them, the U.S. is either progressive, radically so, or it is illegitimate. For a group that wailed, though, about insurrection, that wasn't the insurrection, that obviously was not an insurrection, man, they're sure sounding like they want one now.
Everything they told you about the Minneapolis car ramming was a lie. First, they told you the agent was never hit.
The ICE agent walked away with a hip injury that he might as well have gotten from closing a refrigerator door with his hips. He was not injured. I've seen worse injuries from doing that. And so give me a break. No, he was not ran over. He walked out of there with a hop in his step.
Then they said this was just a mom stuck in traffic.
It's horrifying to watch. And to think about this 37-year-old woman drops her kid off at school, not involved in protest activity or anything, seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
They also said she was a legal observer.
She died trying to be a legal assistant to legal observer to look out for the interests of the most vulnerable members of our community. And she leaves behind a lot of people who love and admire her.
None of this is true. New video from the ICE agent that was rammed was just released, proving he was hit. The woman was there to block the op, and she wasn't a lawyer. Watch.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car.
Get out of the car.
Whoa!
Now, we don't know whether this woman intended to hit the agent with the car or was peeling off, but she accelerated right towards him. Legally, looks justified. But we wish the officer hadn't been in front of the car. It appears he fired his weapon as he was getting clipped. The woman, on foot, calling the agent fat, was the driver's lesbian partner. And they didn't just make a wrong turn and get stuck in the snow. They'd been stalking the ICE officers all day, interfering with their raids. Video shows the car was blocking traffic for 4 minutes, refusing to leave and not complying with orders. And she waited until the agent was in front of the car and the other agent was grabbing onto the door handle before she accelerated, while the partner screams, "Drive, baby, drive." Fox's DHS sources confirmed today that Renee Good was a trained member of ICE Watch. It's a coalition of activists whose mission it is to make ICE's job as difficult as possible. Here's a flyer from ICE Watch that directs people to block the kidnappers' cars and for white witnesses to put their bodies in front of the person that's being kidnapped. See what's going on here? This is an intelligently designed stagecraft. A fellow ICE watcher called Renee an anti-ICE warrior. Now, every vigilante in Minneapolis wants to come out and play.
If I continually see you following us, interfering with us, honking your horn, blocking our cars, you have a very high probability of making a really bad decision and being arrested today.
Yeah, there's a lot of ice around here.
Just so you know, if we continue to have you follow us, okay, have fun. Don't make a bad decision today.
These women think it's a game. They could just lay down wheels in the middle of traffic. They can tailgate federal agents, box them in, and alert eagles of impending searches. Our own Matt Finn was doing an ICE ride along in Minneapolis when they got chased down. Watch.
Okay, so in the distance is a blue Rivian, an electric truck. It's been trailing us now for miles. What are you guys going to do?
If that individual does anything that would indicate that they're going to impede our federal law enforcement operation, we're going to stop. We're going to give them a warning. And then from there, they will be arrested.
That SUV is also trailing you and beeping at you right now.
That is correct.
These warriors, mostly women, have nothing better to do in the middle of the day on a weekday than to drive around and block immigration cops from doing their jobs. Jobs they were hired to do because people voted for it. Here's how it works. They look for tinted out windows, out-of-state plates, and then they shoot out coordinates on encrypted apps with hundreds of members so that ICE warriors can hit the streets and swarm agents. One of them told a Minneapolis paper they'd rather spend a night in jail than see a neighbor locked up for months or be deported. Let's be honest. These activists don't even know these illegals. They don't know their names, where they live. A lot of them have issues and are looking for attention. They're going after ICE agents in street clothes now. One report says a gaggle of women followed ICE agents who weren't even in uniform into a restaurant and hassled them, screamed at them so loudly the guys had to leave without breakfast. Patriotic men in uniform are getting run out of diners in America. But MS-13 can sit down and order huevos rancheros. No bueno. One woman spit a loogie at an agent. Enough's enough. Here comes the cuffs.
Step back. She hit a vehicle.
There's a term for this. It's called suicidal activism. Remember suicide by cop? People are so dangerous, they dare officers to shoot them.
You want to shoot me? Shoot me! Go ahead!
This is what's going on now. A lot of these women want to be victims, and the Democrat politicians have no problem pushing these women into the front lines. Human shields for the party machine. Remember what the base said this summer? There needs to be blood to grab the attention of the public and the press. They're taking it seriously. Hips isn't telling his people to be safe.
Some are even being told they need to be more willing to go out there and get shot when fighting. That was a direct quote, get shot when fighting back against some of Trump's policies. How do you respond to that, Leader Jeffries?
Well, we are in a more is more environment in terms of the unprecedented assault on the American way of life.
Democrats are now saying that ICE, just a bunch of trigger-happy killers.
But the truth is that every single person in the United States of America, U.S. citizens, white, black, brown, whoever you are, you have to worry now that an ICE agent is going to come and shoot at you and kill you.
They're saying all illegals aren't criminals, but all ICE agents are. The Maryland dad gets due process. This ICE agent gets none. They're saying put your body on the line because ICE is going to shoot you in cold blood in your car.
The message from this administration is clear. Only they determine the truth. And when their forces come to your city, obey or die. And if you die, you clearly didn't obey.
That's a late-night comedy show. The former governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura, no relation, just declared war on the federal government. Watch.
We have leadership now that has destroyed the Constitution. They don't follow it. They could care less about it. Am I right or wrong? I took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I view after January 6th, the Republican Party is a domestic enemy to our Constitution.
Why are the Democrats starting a civil war over foreigners? A civil war over foreigners? I'm confused. Have you ever seen these people fight so hard for Americans? I've never seen it. People who put on a badge and uniform and swear an oath to obey the Constitution every day, they're the enemy? The agents protecting the country from gangs and drugs, they're the ones being called Nazis and being hit with cars? Tim Walz just called Minneapolis the new Gettysburg, and they're drafting women to fight.
I quit my job for this, and I've been having flare-ups and stuff, so it's like I can barely, and I have panic attacks.
She quit her job. So someone's apparently paying these people to protest.
Shame! Shame!
Do you have a job? Do you have a job?
Shame! Shame! I'm getting paid right now!
Vance yesterday said Renee Good was part of a vast left-wing network. We've documented how these people are trained, paid, and organized.
There was a woman screaming, shame, 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 shame. She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional. She wouldn't stop screaming. I said, this isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker.
These are the same people torching Teslas, chanting Free Palestine at BLM riots. Doesn't matter. They just want to stick it to the man and cause some heat in the streets because something's not right upstairs and they hate their country. Even after Trump was shot, almost killed twice, MSNBC is still calling him a dictator.
Once you have 3.5% of a population protesting nonviolently against a dictator or an authoritarian, that is essentially an unstoppable force that they can't oppose.
What happens to dictators? They get killed, arrested, toppled. You think that's what Mada is asking for? Does she want Trump to get Maduro'd or Gaddafi'd or Saddam'd? First step, light the city on fire.
When the city burned, after George Floyd, all of a sudden there were some charges. So for those who are on the media talking about, don't burn it down, don't set it on fire, let me tell you this, we need justice and we need it now.
Once the cities start burning, they can repeat the Summer of Love, where they scare the country into DEI and defund the police. It's the same MO. Senator Chris Murphy, the same guy who told us he's at war with President Trump, says Democrats' next step is to defund ICE. So if the Democrats win the midterms, ICE is going broke.
I agree that we need congressional restraint to limit or address decisively the lawlessness that the Department of Homeland Security has unleashed on the American people.
Democrats can't win an election or win in court, so they're forcing women to get hurt, so cities burn, to drive Republican numbers down with chaos, so they can swoop into power on a pile of ash and bone and doge Homeland Security.
Do you think ICE should be abolished?
We have to absolutely start over with this agency. And frankly, Kristi Noem and leadership of ICE should be dragged in front of Congress. And let's be clear, how they are acting right now is unconstitutional. So should we throw out this current model of ICE? Absolutely, yes.
So we finally found the one thing Democrats want doged. We're going to keep the money for sex changes in Guatemala, but we're going to strip it from ICE. So now that we understand the strategy, we have to realize the left's tactics, they're only going to get more aggressive. They're going to drive more cars into ICE. They're going to throw their bodies into ICE cars. They're going to spit, kick, hit. It's going to look like a UFC fight. It's going to look like Demolition Derby. Suicide by ICE. That's what you're going to start seeing. So they can frame the federal government as a murderous dictatorship and then take any means necessary to end it. The Trump administration has to be vigilant about all ongoing ICE operations. They need to start setting up perimeters around entire blocks, boosting manpower, providing backup for the safety of the ICE officers and the agitators. Because these guys want blood. That's what they've said. We can't give it to them. They want a civil war. They've said that. Can't give it to them. So be calm, be professional, but be very strong and very aggressive when conducting operations. Make an example out of people. Arrest people for obstruction. Conduct surveillance. Make sure everyone has body cameras. Don't let them interfere with the mission. Mass deportations. That's what you voted for. And that's how you save the country.
Now, let me just state an obvious fact. Left-wing political leaders, some in the legacy media mob, they are putting their supporters' lives at risk. Their endless, incendiary, dehumanizing rhetoric has resulted in more violence and threats against ICE agents than we have ever seen. ICE agents, they are simply doing their jobs, the jobs that they were hired to do. They're conducting dangerous raids around the country. They are enforcing federal immigration law. Supremacy clause. That means jurisdiction is with the federal government. That's it. In many cases, they're getting violent criminals off the streets. They are not the Gestapo, as Tim Walz has claimed. This is not Nazi Germany, as other Democrats have claimed. This is not a dictatorship of any kind. We are, in the United States, a constitutional republic. We are governed by the rule of law. The left especially under Biden and Harris. They have aided and abetted widespread lawlessness, assisted by Democratic mayors and governors in their respective sanctuary cities and states. We have allowed in known terrorists and murderers and rapists and cartel members, other violent criminals and drug dealers. And ICE is trying to make our streets and city more safe, more secure. Democrats need to stop lying to the country and their base in particular, whipping them into a frenzy. Or guess what? The predictable outcome is more people sadly will get killed. Now take a look at some of the protests in the past few days.
Nazi, Nazi.
Hurry up.
Shame, 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 shame.
Is that paintball?
Yeah, that's pepper balls.
Now, this is what ICE agents have to deal with every single day, everywhere they go. And in Minneapolis, here's some more. Take a look.
If I continually see you following us, interfering with us, honking your horn, blocking our cars, you have a very high probability of making a really bad decision and being arrested today, okay?
Intimidate her. It's not illegal.
I'm not.
The right decision.
Oh, then why are you giving her a warning?
I'm giving her a warning to not interfere with what we're doing, to not make a bad decision today and ruin your life.
Whoa, bad
Okay,
decisions.
thank you.
That's funny coming from you.
Okay, alrighty. Thank you. Have a good day.
I hope you have a terrible day.
These indoctrinated, unhinged individuals seem to believe that Renee Good was murdered in cold blood. Is it a tragedy? Every death is a tragedy. It's sad. It was preventable, for merely existing in Donald Trump's America. They would have you believe that lie. And because that's what their dear leaders in the Democratic Party, now radicalized and extreme, are telling them. Example, Exhibit A, AOC. Take a look.
I understand that Vice President Vance believes that shooting a young mother of 3 in the face 3 times is an acceptable America that he wants to live in, and I do not. And that is a fundamental difference between Vice President Vance and I. I do not believe that the American people should be assassinated in the street. Thank you.
None of that is true, whipping people's minds into a frenzy. Of course, you got to add in the congenital liar, Adam Schiff. He looked at the same footage we showed you, and he concluded that Renee Good was she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but was doing it like day in and day out, according to reports, before getting attacked by ICE for no reason at all. Take a look.
And to think about this 37-year-old woman drops her kid off at school, not involved in protest activity or anything, seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But at one point, she's waving other cars to come on past, trying to make sure that she's not in the way, although she's been pulled over. And then you see her trying to turn away from these officers, and the shots fired into the car. The wheels of the car pointed not towards the agent, but away from the agent. That's what leaps out to me from the video.
The woman next to her got out of the car, taunting, as we just showed you, ICE officers, as she was. Keep in mind, this woman was a dedicated anti-ICE agitator who was stalking and impeding federal agents all day. As the New York Post put it, she was, quote, an ICE watch warrior who was trained to resist the feds. Like always, the congenital liar is wrong. And then there's, of course, Mr. Fang Fang himself, Eric Swalwell. He wants to get a promotion. He wants to be worse than Gavin Newsom. It appears that, he staged a fake impromptu interview set to dramatic music. music in order to politicize the death of Renee Good and hype up his supporters, if he has any. Take a look.
Hey, Congressman.
What's going on, man?
What the is up with ICE murdering a woman in Minneapolis?
She has a name, right? Renee Good. Looks like she was a mom of 3 and had every right to go see her kids last night. And instead, she's dead. And of course, this is what would happen when you have a president who surges his thugs into our communities, masked, unidentified. And I guess you're lucky now if all that happens is you're thrown in the back of a van or you're dragged by your hair through the streets, because now they're just shooting people in the face and bodies are piling up. So, yes, to ICE, my message is stay the out of California.
Stay the F away. Okay, don't enforce laws. Oh, the border is closed. The border's secure. Up next, Pothole Pete blasting the ICE agent who fired defensive shots. According to Pete, he should have been trained on how not to get hit by an accelerating SUV headed right at you. Okay, take a look.
A Minnesota woman lost her life yesterday in an incident that never should have happened. She should be with her family, alive and well, right now. We have an ICE agent who, by the way, is or should have been trained not to be in front of a vehicle and never to shoot into a moving vehicle.
Now, far-left mayor, this idiot, Jacob Fry, also weighed in, mocking ICE agents and their injuries. Take a look.
Don't take my word for it. Don't take their word for it. Watch the video from every single angle. I mean, the ICE agent walked away with a hip injury that he might as well have gotten from closing a refrigerator door with his hips. He was not injured. I've seen worse injuries from doing that. And so give me a break. No, he was not ran over. He walked out of there with a hop in his step.
Look, we can keep going. I could play these dishonest, incendiary statements from influential, radical left-wing figures all night long. The one thing I cannot play on this show is the same people we're showing you, these same radicalized Democrats, ever showing any sympathy to the hundreds and thousands of Americans that have been murdered and raped or victims of other violent crimes by unvetted, illegal immigrants, the ones they said were not coming into the country when they were lying to the country because they put the so-called rights of illegals above your safety, your security, and the security of the American people. And now Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who recently compared ICE to Nazi Gestapo, is now, quote, inviting all Americans to join Minnesota in a day of unity. The gaslighting and deception, it is off the charts.
You kids, stop it! All right. Guess you're too lazy to chant Gutfeld. It's Friday, so you know what that means. Let's welcome tonight's guest. It's January, and he still doesn't have a date for the prom. Host of the Guy Benson Show, Guy Benson. He was kicked off his high school wrestling team when they found out he was 40. Host of the Jim Norton Can't Save You podcast, comedian Jim Norton. He's the lead anchor on Fox and Friends First, which is like being the lead anchor on the Titanic, Todd Pyro. She often gives to the homeless, but enough about her exes. New York Times bestselling author, Fox News contributor, Carol Duke. That was my brain. All right. Before we get to some news stories, let's do this.
Greg's Leftovers.
Yeah, it's Leftovers, where I read the jokes that we didn't use this week, and as always, it's my first time reading them. So if they suck, we'll dress Joe Mackey up as a penguin and send him to a penguin slaughterhouse. Not much to explain there. All right, to encourage them to join the United States, President Trump is considering paying each Greenland resident $100,000. So if you do the math, this could cost the U.S. $100,000. According to reports, the Iran regime is cracking. Protesters are so grateful for American support, they've switched from chanting death to America to chanting severe bodily harm to America. To appease protesters, the Iranian government is giving its citizens a stimulus of $7 a month, which amounts to $84 a year, or as my writers call it, their annual bonus. The U.S. Department of War is telling a Toronto sex store to stop sending butt plugs to Bahrain, which caused one man to cancel his vacation to Bahrain. A Florida man was only sentenced to community service after being arrested for urinating down on several victims from a rooftop bar, prompting one man to no longer hang out below a rooftop bar. Mouth is open. No, it is. You can tell. Vice President Vance announced he's hiring a new assistant AG position whose entire job will be investigating fraud. And one man has already applied for the job. The U.S. is on pace for the largest one-year drop in murders ever recorded. But some credit this drop to advanced surgical techniques in the city's emergency rooms. And I can attest to that. Bullets aren't the only thing they're good at removing. Wow.
It's an attack on you.
I don't know, man, but that's not the response I expected. It wasn't even of disgust. They were upset by that joke. No, it doesn't even merit being upset. They were just disappointed. Yeah. New research shows that husbands will exercise more if their wife is the higher earner at work, which is why I say you should only date homeless chicks. Actress Rose McGowan claimed that executives on her TV show Charmed would check her weight each season, which obviously seems wrong. The actress could be fit and trim and still be ugly. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani says he is working to ensure that World Cup tickets are available to all, with many New Yorkers saying, "I don't respond to threats." A man on horseback roped in a loose cow in Oklahoma City. Luckily, he was able to lasso it and get it back to work on time at ABC Studios. Now we're back in the place you're comfortable with. Internet critics mocked a woman who boasted she had read 120 low-quality books in a single year. Meanwhile, one man was also mocked for writing 120 low-quality books in a single year. According to the New York Post, young men aren't approaching women anymore, claiming they don't want to come across as creepy. They should take my advice. Sneak up on them while they're sleeping. New Mexico police have launched an effort to recruit more lady cops, but sadly, they spend most of the training explaining the right to remain silent. I fist bump you at home. Mayor Mamdani appointed New York City's first ever lesbian fire chief. Finally, they figured out a way to beat the cops at softball. Finally, according to a recent study in 2025, The View had 128 liberal guests and just 2 conservative ones. And those 2 were the forklift operators needed to load their studio audience. All right. That was fun, huh? Monologue time. So Trump just dropped new dietary guidelines complete with an updated inverted pyramid. But the new guide also does away with the previous suggested amounts of alcohol of 2 drinks per day for men and 1 for women. And it's about damn time, said one lady. But I wonder, is alcohol a social lubricant that brings people together?
So alcohol is a social lubricant that brings people together. In the best case scenario, I don't think you should drink alcohol, but it does allow people an excuse to bond and socialize, and there's probably nothing healthier than having a good time with friends in a safe way. If you look at the blue zones, for example, around the world where people live the longest, alcohol is sometimes part of their diet. Again, small amounts, taken very judiciously, and usually in a celebratory fashion. So there is alcohol on these dietary guidelines, but the implication is don't have it for breakfast.
Don't have it for breakfast? That's insane. I can only enjoy Fox and Friends after a 5th of vodka. But the key takeaway from Oz, alcohol helps with social interaction, especially if you're unattractive and there's too many well-lit rooms, huh? It's true. In my life, alcohol helped me in many ways. It was the only way I got through having to talk to my attractive female co-pilots. And what a nice change to hear the government go from stay 6 feet apart to make it a double and who's the dame with the peach-shaped ass. And I get the real concern that birth rates have hit an all-time low in 2024. But is this the right solution or a temporary fix for a generation that's withdrawn into a combination of lockdowns, smartphones, and the internet? It's as if we've given up as a species, one that will be extinct faster than the delicious snow leopards I ordered from my poacher. You know, one of the first challenges you face as a young person is approach anxiety. It's hard to meet people when you're shy. So Oz points out the obvious, try liquid courage. But then you create a new problem when it works, because it will for a time. But once you start relying on booze for confidence, there's no going back. Pretty soon, you're the vice president of the United States. Alcohol can be a cheat code for a social life until it becomes your whole life, then it's poison. But maybe we're realizing in the array of poisons, it might be the least of the worst when you consider the overwhelming consumption of porn, video games, and legalized absurdly potent pot. Maybe we're exchanging one milder toxin for ones that are worse. Not to mention the fact that we've seen countless stories of how Gen Z men are no longer approaching women. Doesn't help that many Gen Z men are identifying as women, and many women are identifying as Democrats. And we've seen how countries around the world have tried to address collapsing birth rates. Japan is paying people to have kids. Europe is importing people from cultures that hate everything they stand for. Meanwhile, here we're told that men are toxic, women don't need men, and that kids were just another set of carbon footprints who their pants and need fresh water in their bowls every morning. We're heading toward becoming a country of bitter single people who find comfort in cats and Law and Order reruns. So it's no wonder we stopped reproducing. How are young people going to afford kids when they can't afford college, a home, or the taxes that fund fake daycares for illegals? And I get it. It always seems like it's not the right time to have kids, and then one day you wake up and you're 50. But there's not ever the perfect time. And I'm not just saying that because I just became a dad and that I've been given $1 million by both Coors and Pampers. So I understand the concern to jumpstart the mating process with booze, especially if you're no George Clooney or Greg Gutfeld. It's true, 10 drinks can turn Taylor Swift into a 6.5. And it's the thing that can give virgins hope that, well, someday they can make it to first base. Guy, I have mixed feelings about this. A social interaction is extremely healthy, but drinking is not. So is it the answer to an introverted, ambivalent generation?
Well, I would say in solidarity with Gen Z men, I too am no longer approaching women. I love the announcement from Dr. Oz because he's basically saying, I'm not a normal CMS administrator. I'm a cool CMS administrator because now drinking is okay. And he had all sorts of caveats in there saying, ideally, you shouldn't drink at all and drink just a little bit. But you know, everyone is only listening to the pro-drinking parts of that, saying, oh, in the parts of the world where people live long, they drink a lot.
Yes.
So I feel like we're probably going to get an uptick in alcohol consumption, which I'm generally okay with, as long as you point out it doesn't go too far.
I love what they always say, these cultures that drink live longer, as if there are no other variables involved. It's just the booze. That's science. So, Jim, you are a sober guy. You haven't had a drink in years. Did booze ever work for you when you were drinking?
Not real. I mean, no, it didn't. I mean, it was confidence for a little while, and then it's like I wake up the next one, oh, another fat girl.
And you're talking about victims.
Well, no, she wasn't happy. That was what she said to me because I was like a lesbian. No, you know, for me, the confidence came, but it went quickly. You know what I mean? Like, it was false. It was for a little while. People who can do it healthy, enjoy it. I just find a thin pair of sweatpants and a Viagra works just as well.
And what are you wearing? Kat, you know, do you remember, did you ever lie to a doctor about how many drinks you drank? I did. I had to do that all the time. They'd go like, how many do you drink? And I would say, you know, 5 to 7. And they'd go like, a week? I'd go, no. What are you talking about?
No, I never did.
Oh, you did?
No. I mean, I think that this also is just acknowledging reality. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who has exactly 1 drink a day.
Yeah.
I think for me, I don't drink very often just because it doesn't really fit into my life anymore. I'll go several weeks without even thinking about it. But there's like a handful of times where it's like I don't have any childcare or work responsibilities that day or the next day, and then I'm like, okay, I'll have some drinks. I'm not gonna have just one. And I think that for most people, you have to decide what kind of relationship with it works for you, and I think this is just acknowledging that. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
It's not good for you to drink poison, but it's also really fun to drink poison sometimes.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I heard Dr. Oz say there's nothing healthier than having a good
time with friends.
Yes, right? That's what I heard.
And it is. And there are the handful of times when I've been like, wow, I had a lot of fun last night. It was really good for me to see that I still have that in me to be fun a handful of times.
You know, Todd, I read in your bio that you said you were allergic to alcohol and that when you drink, you break out in racist opinions.
But that you still drink every day.
Yes. You probably don't. You get up so early to host a show no one watches, so you probably...
Stop it. Who here watches my show? Thank you.
To be fair, they kept the Fox on when they fell asleep after mine.
I don't care, as long as we get the ratings points. I take umbrage with what Guy Benson said. I feel like you're very pro Dr. Oz in this discussion. And I am very anti-Dr. Oz in this discussion.
Why?
And it's for this reason. Don't tell me not to have booze for breakfast. I anchor a show at 5 a.m. If I want to get turned at 6 a.m., it's my friggin' right to do so.
Do you ever do that after? No, you don't do that.
That said, I don't do it, but I have had booze, a lot of booze, with one member on this panel, and I think Kat Timpf will acknowledge I'm a pretty good time when I get lit.
Yes.
Kat?
Yeah, that was before the babe. That was like 1 month before I got pregnant, actually.
There's absolutely no way you can have a hangover.
I went out with Todd and all of his friends, and they were all like bros and like talking to each other like bros.
Jeez.
It was bizarre.
Yeah, you know what they were. You know what they were doing when they got home.
Kat, are you
Did
sure?
anybody get that except for me?
Are you sure it was a month before you got pregnant?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I
want to make sure the timeline's correct here.
I got pregnant without alcohol because I'm just like really fun.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.